Welcome to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is a condensed version of today's episode of Undisputed, handpicked with the best segments and discussions. Skip, Shannon, let's go.
Kobe Bryant made headlines when he was mentoring Jason Tatum of the rival Celtics, and he made more headlines when it was reported that he asked why the Lakers didn't draft Tatum last year. Instead, LA used that draft pick on Lonzo Ball, and of course, that did not sit well with good old dad. LaVar Ball said Kobe doesn't like Zoe because Zoe grew up as a LeBron fan instead of a fan of the Mamba. Shannon, do you agree with LaVar here?
No, I don't. I don't really think that has anything to do with it. I think probably Jason Tatum has reached out to Kobe Bryant, and Kobe Bryant was just saying, I don't think Kobe sees in Lonzo what he sees in Jason Tatum. Although Skip believes that Lonzo will be transcendent, he sees Jason Tatum and saw what he did last year and sees that mentality. Jason Tatum is more like Kobe with the Mamba mentality. Maybe Zoe is more like LeBron with his, I'm going to get everybody else involved. Jason Tatum, I'm getting buckets. So for me, I don't think he liking LeBron over Kobe. I don't think that fazed Kobe one bit. I think when you have got, and think now, Skip, we would have never saw Michael working out with a younger guy. It's hard for me to believe that Magic or Larry or some of these other guys, but this is a new time and this is a new era, a new day now. These young guys come in, they want to be where these old heads are. They have no problem whatsoever reaching out, partake some of that wisdom. Help me get to the level that you are. And they don't take it like, well, I can't teach you, bro, because I don't want you to be better than me. Nah, they're going to pull you along. We want you to be good. Our league becomes better. The more good players, the great players we have, the better for our league. But I don't think Lonzo liking LeBron more than Kobe is the reason why Kobe's doing this. I believe Kobe will help anyone that will reach out to him and ask for his assistance. Kobe is not one of these guys that's going to volunteer information to you if you don't ask him for it. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think Kobe sees a guy that has the potential to be great, wants to be great, reached out to him, because you remember that details throughout the playoffs, Kobe was doing this thing, Skip, I think it was called Details, where he was critiquing everybody. And he had very, very high praise for Jason Tatum. And Jason Tatum was like, wow, I ended up watching it 25, 30 times because that's Kobe talking about me, saying I was doing some things good, but there's some things that I can do better. So I think that's why Kobe is doing what he's doing. Jason Tatum reached out, and here we are.
Okay. Let's go back to LaVar.
Yes.
You know what I think of LaVar. I do respect him because he loves his three sons to a fault, but he loves them. And
Correct.
He's there for them, maybe to a fault, but he's there. And
Correct.
The one thing you can't criticize LaVar for is he keeps being right. He said Lonzo's going to end up playing for the Lakers, and he plays for the Lakers. And he said all last year, he said, LeBron's coming to the Lakers. And he came to the Lakers. And I think he was right to call out Kobe here because he's on to something that was on my radar last week, and LaVar spoke it into existence. He speaks a lot of things into existence, but he went right for the throat of this. And again, I don't love what LaVar has done to his number one son because he painted a target on his back that was the biggest we've ever seen for an 18 or 19-year-old coming into this league. And I know you say, what about LeBron? But everybody wanted LeBron to succeed. Nobody was rooting against LeBron when he came out of high school. I don't think. I don't know of anybody. But Lonzo, about 2/3 of the NBA world was rooting against Lonzo because of his father, because they're just rooting against LaVar. They want to see LaVar fall and fail, and so, in turn, it has to start with Lonzo.
Well, the blowback is on Lonzo because they're really rooting against LaVar.
Correct. So, in this case, Kobe has taken a keen interest in a Boston Celtic upcoming star. And again, Lakers, Celtics, is it not the ultimate NBA rivalry?
Oh, absolutely.
And all during the playoffs, I kept thinking, Kobe, what are you doing? like you're Mr. Laker. You've become the #1 Lakers ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he didn't say this publicly, Kobe, about Lonzo and Jason Tatum. He told this to Drew Hanlon, this NBA shooting coach, skills coach. And Drew Hanlon told an FS1 reporter that Kobe finally concluded, well, why didn't we, the Lakers, draft Jason Tatum? Well, I'm not surprised that Kobe would feel that way.
Skip, you can always go back and make that case because they're saying, okay, why did the Lakers draft Porzingis instead of D'Angelo Russell? Why didn't Portland take Kevin Durant over Greg Oden? There's always situations where you can go back like, they should have taken that guy over this guy. But in a situation like this, I think Kobe likes everybody that doesn't play for the Lakers because nobody threatens his legacy. I don't think, let me just say for the sake of argument, not that LeBron would ever reach out to Kobe. He'd probably ask him, okay, what's going on, but not as far as game tips. You think Kobe gonna be all head over heels to come help LeBron? I believe Kobe likes everybody that doesn't play for the Lakers that has anything that could possibly do to take a dent into his legacy. We know how protected Kobe is. We know how Kobe fans, how protective they are of Kobe. So I'm not surprised that Kobe's doing this. I believe Kobe is sincere. I believe Kobe wants to help guys. I'm not so sure that, if Kuzma were to reach out, do I think he'd help Kuzma? Maybe. We need to have one of these guys reach out to Kobe and see in order for us to have definitive proof one way or another. But I just believe Jason Tatum reached out to him and says, okay. But he sees what Jason Tatum is. Jason Tatum can legitimately be a 25-point-a-night scorer, Skip. He can legitimately be a 4 or 5 assist, 6, 7, 8 rebound-a-night guy.
He plays for the Boston Celtics. You can't do that if you're Kobe Bryant. You cannot. Details, whatever you want to call it, you can't do it. You just have to draw the line. I know he's trying to segue into his second career in Hollywood and in analyst work, and I get that, but he loves Jason Tatum, in part because Jason Tatum loves him and modeled his game after, he's shown the film by this Drew Hanlon. Look how much Jason Tatum looks like you because he's practicing all your moves. Well, that's fine.
What Kobe is saying, Drew Hanlon's making all this money off these guys, I can get some of this money. If you're going to pay a shooting coach $200,000, $300,000, Kobe's like, hey, break bread with me too.
Okay.
I got these real tips for you.
At the expense of the Los Angeles Lakers? Really? You're going to do that? Because to me, if you're saying, why didn't we, the Lakers, draft Jason Tatum, aren't you taking a big shot at Magic Johnson? Isn't that critical? Again, he didn't go public with it. It was through Drew Hanlon, right?
All things being equal, Skip, yeah, they should have. You know that,
I do not know that. I don't know that at all. And again, I do think that Lonzo Ball is going to be transcendent. I think he's a very special player. And I also I read earlier that when Kobe and Lonzo first met, it didn't go that well. It was reported that it was kind of a cool meet, like a little icy because Kobe asked him about, do you have a post-up game? Obviously, Lonzo's 6'7" and could post up smaller guards. And that Lonzo wasn't keen on that question because he's a we first and Kobe's a me first. So Kobe's coming at it from how can you score the basketball? And Lonzo's saying, I make everybody better. Well, I love that about him.
Even in the process of making it, Magic Johnson made everybody better. But Magic had a post-up game, and Magic also could score the basketball. So just because, listen, I don't care. The Lakers can't get to where they want to be with him being Ricky Rubio the first 4 or 5 years of his career. That's not going to happen. You know that, I know that. So he's going to have to score the ball. He has a funky shot, which is going to make it more difficult for him to score the basketball. So, Skip, he's going to have to do something to get easy buckets, getting to the basket. He doesn't do that very well. So you're going to have to get a mid-range game. You got to get a post-up game. Skip, you're going to have to do other things besides shoot threes.
He's got all that. He just didn't last year choose to use much of that. Maybe they will push him, okay? Maybe LeBron will push him to get a little more selfish, to be a little bit more me first. But I'm not backing off. Lonzo Ball will be better at what he does long term than Jason Tatum will be at what he does. What Jason Tatum does kind of grows on trees. You can find those guys who can shoot and score.
No,
yes,
it
does.
doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yep. Brandon Ingram can do what Jason Tatum does.
No,
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yep. Well, you're a Laker hater, except for one guy, you know.
Whoa. Where did this come from? You keep telling me. You keep telling me that Lonzo could do all these things.
Well, he did it
Why
last
didn't he?
year. 10,
No, he
7, and
didn't.
7. He led the team in rebounding much of the year until Julius Randle barely passed him. He led the team in assists. He was one of the top point guards in assists in the league. Wasn't he top 6 or 8 in assists?
Yeah, Skip. He can assist the basketball. But what Kobe is saying, in order for you to take the next step, you're going to have to do other things besides just facilitate. You're going to have to score too. And right now, the way you're scoring is not efficient. If you think you're going to Skip, the dude shot 30-something% from the three-point line. He shot 33, 34% from the floor. He's shooting 45% from the free throw line. You got to get easy buckets. You got to get layups. You got to get, 10-footers.
Well,
because
maybe you need a coach who will actually play you.
Whoa,
Let you play. I don't know. Maybe.
Hold on. How did this become an indictment on Luke Walton?
Well, because LaVar Ball said Luke needed to be fired last year, basically,
So
because
now
the team
you
had quit on him.
Skip Bayless, now you taking everything to the bank. What LaVar Ball says, that's your black card now.
Well, I'm just telling you that I thought he would actually get to play whole first quarters as a starting point guard, and he yanked him every mid-first quarter. He yanked him and didn't put him back in until mid-second quarter. And to LaVar's point, he's right about this. How can you get any rhythm like that? I just didn't like the way he coached him last year. I know he was trying to cater to the veterans, KCP, and get Jordan Clarkson in there more. I got that.
Luke Walton was trying to win games.
He stunted his growth.
I don't think Luke Walton is in a position where he can play favorites. Luke Walton's job is to win games. He doesn't have the carte blanche service like a Popovich or a Rick Carlisle or Brad Stevens. I know what he did in an interim basis for the Golden State Warriors. But hell, I probably could have got him maybe 4 extra losses instead of he went 39-4. I probably would have went 43-8, 33-8 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's neither here nor there, Skip. It's hard for me to believe that Kobe dislikes someone because a player likes someone like LeBron more than they like him.
Well, again, you're discounting the fact Lonzo grew up an idolater of LeBron James, your guy. And
because his game is more situated. Yeah. Because here's the thing, Skip, I look at it like this here. Why would my son, LaVar is a guy, why would my son seek advice from Kobe? I'm his teacher. I've been teaching him his whole life. Now somebody takes interest in Jason Tatum. Now he's talking about how the guy doesn't like my son.
Okay, but if I'm a Kobe idolater, if I love me some Kobe, if I'm almost to the point where I would go, if I'm a Kobe Bryant disciple enough that I would go defame the mural, splash paint on the LeBron Laker mural.
You did.
I didn't do that, but the point is somebody did. Well, whoever did that, does he or she like it that Kobe Bryant has invested all this time in making Jason Tatum better? Because I wouldn't like that if I were a big Kobe fan.
Let me ask you a question, Skip Bayless. When LeBron James wanted to work up his post-up game, work on his footwork, he was a big LeBron James. He said that was my idol growing up. Who did he go work with? He went with Akeem Olajuwon. It's okay. That doesn't mean he thinks any less of Michael. He just maybe Michael wasn't willing to help LeBron. Maybe Lonzo didn't reach out because you remember LeVar knows more basketball than Kobe, than LeBron, and everybody. So why would Lonzo go seek assistance from someone else when his dad is the foremost thinker on all things basketball?
Okay, but you're missing the point that Kobe is trying to turn Jason Tatum into a superstar. You like that?
Yeah.
Great.
I love old guys that reach out. It wasn't like Kobe picked up the phone and called him, bruh, you need to get in the gym with me. It's kind of like, Skip, I'm not Kobe. I'm not one of these great guys. But I don't partake wisdom on anyone. But if a tight end or a receiver reach out to me and say, well, Shannon, what do you think about this? How do I get better than doing that? I got no problem. They don't have to be Broncos. Not one Bronco player has, for a tight end has reached out to me and asked me anything.
I think
DT has.
Yeah, you just put yourself in Kobe Bryant's sentence.
No, I'm trying.
You also called Kobe an old guy. I don't know if he's going to like that one too much.
All I'm saying is, Skip, is that when players reach out, I think sometimes we have an obligation to give back.
All right, well, that's fair enough.
No mercy.
Lonzo Ball's rookie year was under the microscope, from his unorthodox shooting style to his disappointing shooting percentage. His former Laker teammate Isaiah Thomas said yesterday on CBS Radio that Lonzo can be special, but he added, quote, "I don't think they're going to be able to fix his jump shot, but they can work with him and get it better than how it is right now." We're joined by FS1 NBA analyst Eddie House. Thank you for being here. I'm going to start with Shannon on this one. Do you agree with Isaiah that Lonzo's jump shot can't be fixed?
I think you're going to tinker with it, but it's hard. It's easy to fix something when you're in the gym and you're not in the stressful situation of an actual game. Skip, you can relate to this. I take it back to Tebow. When Tebow's in just shorts and he's just throwing, doing drills, everything looks fine. It's when he gets into that fire, when he gets into that stressful situation, the body will always revert back to what it knows most, knows the best, and feels most comfortable doing. So in a situation where, in a game, he will revert back to what feels comfortable, what feels best, what his body knows. So I do think it's going to be very, very difficult. I agree with Isaiah. I agree that it's going to be very, very difficult for him to fix that shot because he's been doing it so long. He's had success doing it that way. His dad has said, Zoe has been shooting this shot his whole life. Why do you need to fix it? So that's the mindset. I was the number two draft pick overall with this shot. What do I need to fix? So that's what they're going to be up against. If he was a second-round draft pick, he was the 20th pick in the draft, I think he would be more receptive to working on or trying to fix that jump shot. But since he was the number 2 overall pick and he's had some success, it's going to be very difficult for them to adjust the shot, or it might be even more difficult to convince him he needs to adjust the shot.
Okay, before I weigh in, I'm going to defer to a guy who could really shoot it, Eddie House. One of the great shooters in the history of this game in spurts. Great clutch jump shooter. Can this be fixed? Should it be fixed?
Well, I'm not sure about the mechanics side of it. You look at how he shot in college. Just the thing is, it's like Shannon was saying, you'll revert back to what you know, and that's the muscle memory. Now, the only way he can change that or fix that is if he's in the gym changing his mechanics. And I think Magic hired a shot doctor as well. I don't know what his name is, but he hired it. So I want to know what kind of prescription he going to give Zoe to fix that jumper. You understand me? Is it going to be, are you changing his mechanics or are you working on his psyche? Because a jump shot, number one, is all mental. It's all you. If you have a mental block, and just like Markelle Fultz, you see, he went from being able to score the basketball to can't get it to the rim. And it's just like, it's mental blocks that happen, like a catcher throwing the ball to the pitcher or Chuck Knobloch throwing the ball from second base to first. You have something going on in your mind, and it hasn't been bothering Zoe. It hasn't affected him his whole life. I think maybe some of the outside interference, the pressure of being the number 2 pick may have got to him psychologically. I compare him to a guy who has a similar size, Kevin Martin.
I know him.
Similar shot,
same
size,
same idea,
same pretty much idea. So, but he had ultimate confidence. He averaged 20 points in 12 seasons. He averaged 20 points 7 times in a 12-year career. Finished averaging 17 points, 46 from field, 38 from 3. So if Zoe can get his confidence back on, I don't think there's no problem. You don't want to start trying to change mechanics. You want to just have ultimate confidence when you are taking that shot.
By the way, I once talked to Reggie Theus, who coached Kevin Martin in Sacramento, and just said, I just couldn't reach him. You know, like he did what he was going to do and shot it the way he was going to shoot it, and it worked.
Right.
Okay, obviously, my biggest problem with this whole situation is the free throw line.
True.
You cannot, if you're going to be a starting point guard or a star point guard in this league, you cannot shoot 45% from the free throw line. I'm not worried about the three-point shooting. He shot 31% last year, but I keep reminding Shannon, he shot 41% at UCLA. So that funky shot that he's been shooting since he was 3 years old, He is releasing it on the wrong side of his face. That's basically, he's releasing it over here instead of over here. I think he can figure it out from 3, but I don't know if he can figure it out from the free throw line. I think at the free throw line, you have to go back conventional. When you shoot a set shot with your feet on the floor from the free throw line, I think he's going to have to get over here to do it, or it's not going to work. And again, he wasn't very good he shot 67% at UCLA from the free throw line. So he's never been a great free throw shooter, but you got to be above 70.
Yeah, you have to. Go ahead,
Skip,
Shannon.
here's the thing, though. The difference between he and Kevin Martin was not the second overall pick and was not thought of being a face of a franchise
Nope.
and to be transcendent.
No, he was. But
so
not
he
highly anticipated,
Right. So he had the luxury, like, if Kevin Martin had flamed out, no one would have thought, oh, man, they really.
No.
But if this guy, the number 2 pick, and he can't fix it or he can't contribute any more from the field as far as shooting the basketball than what he's shooting right now, that's going to be a problem for the Lakers.
I think moving forward, I think it's more mental than anything, because you don't go from being able to shoot the basketball and knock it down and have confidence to all of a sudden not being able to do it, and you can't find your stroke. And to your point, Skip, the free throw line is especially the spot he's supposed to be able to get it back on track and get his rhythm. So I think it's more so mental. I mean, I had lulls in my career to where I just couldn't buy it back. I couldn't find it. I'm shooting the same exact shot. Yeah. I'm in the gym spending so much time before practice, after practice, extra time going in later in the night trying to find my shot. I keep shooting. Sometimes you just get in a little rut, it's a little slump, and then you just shoot yourself out of it. I think more so than anything, though, with Lonzo, it's some kind of mental thing, because everybody did talk about the mechanics of his shot, but the fact of it, it was going in college. So it wasn't talked about as much. As soon as he started missing and having struggles, and you could tell that it's in his head. He doesn't even want to go to the free throw line. He kind of trying to avoid contact, trying to get there. Yep. That's a place that he doesn't want to be. So to me, it's more so internally and mentally, more so than his mechanics.
Okay, and Shannon doesn't want to hear this, but I keep bringing up the fact there was 6 games, a 6-game stretch, late February, early March. So it's 6 games. It's a decent sample size. And Lonzo made 50% of his three-point shots. So he did do that. For what it's worth, that was the second best in those 6 games in the whole league. Okay, so I saw flashes where I said, okay, that'll work.
Was that on the road or at home?
I don't know. They went 5-1 in those games. I'm not sure if they were home or road. But you know what? It looked like at home he just didn't like the shooting back.
That's what I'm saying. Like on the road, he might have less pressure, easier to play than playing in front of your home crowd sometimes.
And sometimes, at Staple, if you don't like the way it looks or feels, it can affect you, right?
Well, yeah,
Eddie,
what's up?
Eddie, you notice how Skip does that? Skip will always take. Now, there are 82 games in a season. He'll take a spot here. There are 6 games, and there are 6-game stretch, or there are 11-game stretch. I went on 6 dates with Nicole Murphy. Are we an item? Yes or no?
No,
we're not.
Did you really?
No. I'm just saying. I'm using hypothetical. I'm using hypothetical, Skip. I'm just saying. Just because you could do something for 6 times, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a reoccurring theme. And so until we see Zoe do this for an extended period of time, and like his dad said, Zoe doesn't need. This is what LaVar said. Now, Skip. Zoe doesn't need to change anything. Zoe been shooting this shot his whole life.
Okay, but don't tell me
with that, though.
Don't tell me the shot is broken if you can go 6 games and shoot 50%. It's fixable. It's fixable.
It's like this. I wouldn't change anything that I've been doing. Like as far as mechanics, that's hard to do. If you start messing with mechanics now, if you already mentally messed up and you change your mechanics and you can't find it, you're gone.
Shoulder, elbow gonna start hurting.
I think he has to just focus on.
If he comes out shooting conventional jump shots next year, you want to talk about pressure? You want to talk about focus? The whole world will be saying, is the next one going to go in?
And imagine if he changes his mechanics and can't knock the shot down. Then it's all bad.
Yeah.
But isn't this the biggest year for him pressure-wise? If he doesn't step it up this year,
I think he got some pressure taken off of him with Rondo coming in, with LeBron
that Rondo
coming.
own him. Huh? No, Rondo coming to get that job.
No, yeah.
No, he ain't got
No, I understand that, but I think this is the best thing for him, to be surrounded by 2 high IQ basketball players in Rondo and LeBron. They'll be able to teach him how to see the game in a different way, because all the film study that Rondo does, same thing that LeBron does. If they take him under, I know Rondo will take him under his wing. They take him under his wing and show him a different side, show him how to prepare like a all-star, like a superstar. I think it's going to help him, and it's going to speak volumes to his game. Now, as far as his jump shot, they got a shot doctor. Let's see what kind of medicine they got for him.
So there's one last thing Shannon Sharp does not want to hear. It's the rest of the quotes from one Isaiah Thomas. He says he can't fix the shot, although he says it can get better. But he also concludes, this is about Lonzo, Isaiah on Lonzo. He's a talented young player that's going to be special in this league because he has the tools to be special. Talented twice. Talented player. That's special. Isaiah Thomas. This man, Mr. House, just said special over here. I say special or transcendent. Shannon Sharp says bust. Bust. Yes, bust.
Eddie, I never used the word bust. I said I don't see Magic Johnson.
No, you don't see Magic Johnson. He light-skinned. Magic is brown.
That's good. That sums it up.
And just because, listen, you can have a special ingredient that go into a dish doesn't make the dish great. It's just special. So Lonzo might be special. He might be special. He might be talented. That doesn't mean he's going to be great.
All I know is he's going to make LeBron look a lot better next year.
Don't do that, Skip. Don't see, there you go. See, now you getting to that LeVar. You know what?
You know I
got it.
Shannon, it's when you're not here.
Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it.
Because I know you can't reach out and get
I'm sorry.
it. You know?
I can't help you there.
You can't reach through that monitor.
Eddie, thank you for being here.
No mercy.
Well, LeBron has had quite the offseason. He signed with the Lakers, he opened a school, and has been a constant presence at his son's AAU games. LeBron put on a dunk show last weekend before a game, and he even gave his son Bronny's team a pep talk that included a curse word. But you got to listen to it yourself.
We got Hall of Famers, and some of the best players that ever played a game came off the bench or didn't play. That don't mean you ain't good. There's guys in the NBA that don't play. Does that mean they're not good? They got to the NBA because they were sorry? They're just playing a role. If you don't want to roll, play tennis or play golf. Because then you can do what you want to do, and then you got nobody else to blame because it's only an individual sport. If that's what you want to do, play tennis or play golf. But if you want to play a team sport, there's going to be things that you got to give up to get what you want.
All right, Shannon, I don't mind the message, but I'm not so sure about that swear word. Are you surprised by that?
Absolutely not. Because sometimes in order to reach kids, you have to say things. I'm not advocating that you need to curse kids all the time. But I think in this situation, LeBron was trying to drive a point. He's trying to say, look, guys, in order for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish, we need guys to have roles. Everybody can't be a starter. Everybody can't get 15 shots. And plus, if you think LeBron's a bad role model, just remember, early in the week, he opened up a school. 240-plus kids go get breakfast, lunch, and snacks. They're going to get uniforms. They got bicycles. Their parents, if they didn't graduate, can go get GEDs. So if you think LeBron is a bad role model, just go. I promise, just Google that, look at the school, and look what he's done, and says, okay, you know what? I can see it. Let me tell you something, explain something to you. Parents, if your kid's going to play a sport, and they're going to play a team sport, there will be times, I promise you, that the coach is going to use some language that you probably not going to think is going to be appropriate. I'm not saying he or she should use that language all the time, but sometimes to get a point across, it's going to take harsh language. So it's okay. It's not the end of the world. I can assure you, the word that LeBron used, their parents have probably used that word or even worse in front of them. So let's not just go, I get it. It's LeBron, but LeBron is a human being. He's a man. He has flaws. I don't have a problem with him using that in that instance because I get the point that he's trying to drive home. And I know what he's done for the kids. So LeBron is not a bad role model. He's a great role model. And in this situation, it called for harsh language, although I don't recommend that he or any other coaches use that often. But in this situation, I understand it. I do not have a problem with it. He wasn't cursing the kids. He was saying this is what you need to do if you don't like playing a role in a team sport.
So, for me, this is not the end of the world. But because I do have so much respect for LeBron James as a role model and as a father, that I must admit, when I saw this last night for the first time, I was shocked and I was disappointed by it because LeBron just opened that school in his hometown, because he's been such a good role model for kids. Heck, he even retweeted a shot at Jerry Jones about the anthem and the hypocrisy of leaving his hat on. I love all that about LeBron. He takes political stances that so many athletes, starting with Michael Jordan, never took. I love that. I tell you all the time, he is a good guy. He is a good role model, husband, father, all that's fine. And then this came out of nowhere because it just wasn't necessary. He's not the coach of the team, and you're right about the coach. The coaches, especially starting at the high school level, they're going to use strong, profane language. Mm-hmm. Have these kids heard this word a billion? Yes, they have. Do these kids, some of them, maybe most of them, use this word occasionally, if not often? Yeah, probably so. But LeBron James, even though he gets a little overamped when he's trying to be the unofficial coach of his 13-year-old's team, he gets overexcited, he gets revved up and over-revved, and he's trying to make a point about everybody of these 13-year-olds has to learn to play his role. Mm-hmm. And he says, if you don't want to play a role, play tennis or golf, because then you can do whatever you want to.
Bleep you up, right.
Well,
that's why I don't...
It wasn't necessary. If you just said you can do whatever you want to, that's strong in and of itself. It was gratuitous to me. It didn't drive home the point any deeper. It just made those kids go, LeBron just said the F word. Wow, to us. But here's the problem. If they go home and it slips out at home in front of mom and dad say, you cannot say that word in this house, you are grounded or whatever, you can't do this or that. Right. They say, but LeBron used that word to us. He used it in his pep talk to us.
And then mom and dad gonna say, when you become worth $500 million, you can curse as much as you want. Skip, here's the thing. I can see if he was cursing at a player. He's trying to explain to them that if you don't want to play a role, you need to play a sport where it's individuality. And that way, you rise and fall on you. The only accountability is you. You don't have to play. The only role you play is you against the opponent. But that's all he's saying. Tom Brady used that word. How many times did we hear Tom versus time him use that word?
Yep.
You don't think so? No 13 or 14-year-old watched that documentary.
No, that's fair. But he didn't say it to his kids or his kids' team.
No, we don't know what he says to the kids behind or what he says behind closed doors. No. I don't have to Skip. For me, I'm not going to reach to the conclusion and say, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, LeBron is such a bad person. After
time out. Quick point. Do you not put LeBron as a role model on a higher pedestal than Tom Brady?
Yes.
I do. I put him on a higher pedestal.
Skip. Even the greatest role models are flawed. Even the greatest.
That's a fact. I got it.
David was the greatest king to ever live, but he slept with Bathsheba. Solomon had 800 wives, but he's the wisest king to ever live.
Yep. That's why
even the greats have flaws.
I've always told you I hesitate to ever use that term role model because it's almost impossible for any human to live up to it. But I've given LeBron a break here by saying, you know what? He comes about as close as anybody to this. And he will use profanity when he goes off on his post-game rants to the media. And sometimes I'm like, LeBron, you don't need to do that. It doesn't put you in the best light. But at least he's just being himself. That's real, raw LeBron. But you can clean it up for the 13-year-olds, to me.
I think the thing is that over the years, we've got the interpretation of what a role model is. We've got it wrong. A role model is someone that does things positive in the community. Doesn't mean they're perfect. See, somehow we've equated role model to being perfect, and that's a misnomer because there is no such thing as a perfect person. So once we get past that to realize LeBron James is a human being and he's done far more good than bad, we're okay. It's just that when we think role models should be perfect, they do everything right. They say everything right. This is where we have it. This is where we run into trouble at. I believe LeBron is a very, very good role model, but he's not perfect. And so once we realize that, we're okay.
Okay, but I think you're admitting it was a little bit of a slip-up on his part because he's not perfect, right?
Oh, yeah, but I think he wanted to use that. Because because you remember there's been times in the media, you're like, where did that come from, LeBron? You said those. I mean, that doesn't sound like you. Sometimes in order to get his point across, he will use those type of words to further drive home his point. And I believe that's what he's trying to do. Because to say, oh man, you can do whatever you want to do. Nah, bro, I need you to understand. You can do the F you wanted to do. Skip, my grandfather had a simple saying for me and my brother. He says, I don't care what you do. You don't have to do nothing. You just can't do it here. Now, that's not what he said. You know, I'm cleaning it up. But you know what he said back then. You don't have to do nothing. You just can't do it here. LeBron says, hey, you don't want to come and play a role. Hey, go play golf or tennis and do what you want to do.
I don't know if the golfers and tennis players love that.
They're probably not. I just can't picture, though, Shannon, if you're giving a pep talk to kids, I don't see you using any swear words.
I don't know about that.
I just don't see it.
Well, the thing is, normally it's like college-age kids and older guys. So I kind of, read my audience and, No, I haven't. I do my best not to.
I think you have a lot to learn about your man Shannon.
I just don't see it.
She got on them Laker colors. You see what she got on today?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize
that
for you.
Don't worry about old Shan Jen.
It's
still
blue.
that jersey
It's blue.
from
It's not purple. It's not purple.
Get close enough.
No mercy.
Dez Bryant was released by the Cowboys over 3 months ago, but he still seems to be on their minds. Dallas's wide receivers coach, Sanjay Lal, was asked if the team has guys that can go up and get the ball, and he appeared to take a shot at Dez when he told the Star-Telegram, quote, I would rather have down-the-field guys that go run down a ball and score than live in the back shoulder world. We want touchdowns. Dez is known for the back shoulder catch and was most productive with Tony Romo as his quarterback. Shannon, are those comments inbounds or out of bounds?
Although they're true, Skip Bayless, they're out of bounds. You know that, I know that. Me being a former analyst, me being an opinionist now, I can give that assessment. And I've said that about Dez Bryant. Dez doesn't take kindly to when I say that. And obviously, Sanjay Lal, who was going to be his position coach, has studied tape on Dez Bryant, and a lot of other people have studied tape on Dez Bryant, and they know this is the world he lives in. But this is what Sanjay Lal said in March. He says, my impression is he's a competitive guy, Lal said. Obviously, he's not happy with what happened last year in terms of his game. I'm excited to work with him and help him as much as I can. I think together we can go good places. That's what he said in March, Skip.
He did.
This is what he's saying in July. So let me ask you this. Those guys that are working, that are receivers there in Dallas now, they're thinking, what's he going to say about me when I leave?
I don't think they're thinking that.
Oh, trust me. Trust me. Yeah, Skip.
Well, they're not thinking about leaving.
There will come a time that they're going to be leaving. I can assure you of that. I know you think they're going to play there forever. You think Dak's going to play in Dallas forever.
I mean, they might be leaving by September for all I know, but go ahead.
But here's the thing, Skip. You and I having these remarks, that's one thing. But for a position coach to say that, I think that's out of bounds. I don't think that's going to have a bearing on anyone else because guess what? The same tape that Sanjay Lal that he watched, there are other position coaches, there are other offensive coordinators and talent evaluators that are watching that very same tape. So I don't think what he's saying is having an impact, but it just goes to show you that I'm not as people, oh, you just hate the Cowboys or you hate Dez. No, I happen to have played that position. I actually know what the hell I'm looking at when I watch tape. And I think someone tweeted me that Dez ran a slant route, and then he retweeted it. I never said Dez couldn't run a slant route. I said the problem is he's only running in-breaking routes and back shoulder fade catches. Those are the only two routes that he seems to be proficient at, which goes to validate what I've been saying, and then Sanjay Lal says what he says. Although that might be true, I just think it's out of bounds for a position coach or a coach to say these things.
Okay, just to be clear about this, when he did, Sanjay Lal, say those things about Dez Bryant, what did I say sitting in this seat on this show, on this network? I said, who the heck are you, Sanjay Lal? I didn't know, where did he come from? This is his first year as the receiver coach. And by the way,
never heard of him.
This is his fourth NFL team in 5 seasons. So You're the guru of receivers, yet he was going to those pre-draft workouts, including the one conducted by Calvin Ridley, and just taking over the workout, running the drill like he was the head of the workout. And then he would be the quote machine afterwards. We think Calvin Ridley could be this, that, and the other. He did it with several of the top receivers. What?
So, Skip, so under your analysis, you're saying after Sanjay Lal, this is your fourth team in 5 years, who in the hell are you to critique what Dez Bryant is or isn't? Is that what you're asking?
I was saying maybe you should show me before you tell me.
Okay.
But to your point, what he just said this time, this is the unvarnished raw truth. And it's not only about Dez, it's about Tony Romo as he applies to Dak Prescott.
Right.
And I got to tell you, the more I thought about it, after I slept on it, I don't mind him saying this at all, because I think all those receivers you talk about now, most of them no name, most of them all in the prove it mode, I think they're going to be inspired by it, because at least the coach is having their back versus Dez Bryant, because he's saying we're going to all run detailed routes that are going to look good on tape. And what did he say about the quarterback? This is the one I love the most. He said Dak Prescott can throw blind. What does he mean by that? He means Dak can throw on time, in rhythm. I've told you before, Dak Prescott is Brady-esque. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady or will ever be near Tom Brady, but he plays football. He conducts the offense the way Tom does, from the pocket on time, on rhythm, trusting where everybody's going to be at split seconds, right?
Well, that's the biggest thing, Skip. In order for a quarterback to throw blind, and that's what the really good ones and great ones can do, you must trust, you must believe that the guy on the other end is going to be where he's supposed to be at the time he's supposed to be there. If you don't, it's hard to throw that. See, that back shoulder fade, Romo and Dez, they perfected that. Everybody can't throw that. It's like, okay, that's a staple of the Green Bay offense. But the backup quarterback can't throw it like Aaron Rodgers. So we shouldn't assume, because Dez was so proficient at it with Tony Romo, Dak is automatically going to be able to come in and do that with him. We can't assume that. And a lot of people just, man, you see how athletic Dez is?
Yep.
That back shoulder fade is going to work. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, and what did he also say about Dak, Sanjay Lal? He said Dak doesn't need to double hitch. What was Romo known for? Double hitches in the pocket, meaning this, right?
Right,
and what was Romo known for? Escape artist. He could create with his legs. Not that he could run downfield, but he could escape in the pocket and buy a little more time for Dez to do whatever he felt like doing, and all of a sudden, the back shoulder becomes available. And it's a double hitch, and then it's a wavelength throw. It's a touch and feel throw. It's an anticipation of where Dez is going to be, where I'm going to throw it over there, and I think he can go up and snatch that one. Well, that's the complete flip side of the way Dak runs the offense. Dak needs to do it on time. It's boom, it's boom, it's boom, and it's to multiple receivers. When Dak, as I kept telling you yesterday, he fell into the number 88 trap. He got way too Dez dependent last year, and he started to double hitch trying to get the ball to 88, because 88 was the guy who's single covered. Cole Beasley's doubled in the slot.
Well, Skip, remember we watched the video, and they're showing him of Carson Wentz, who's throwing the ball up to Alshon Jeffrey, and they're saying, okay, you need to do that today. Well, that's their fault, because they put Dak in that situation, like,
I think
give
they
him
didn't
an
really
opportunity.
get what they had. I lost a little respect for Scott Linehan. You're showing Carson Wentz video? Remember, that was after week 1, and Carson Wentz didn't exactly tear up the NFL his rookie year, and Dak was pretty great. So,
well, the thing is, here's the thing. When Dak comes in, he's a guy, he's like, look, we're going to be a run team. We're going to let Zeke take it, and then when they drop that guy down in the box, you'll get one-on-one coverage. Yep. Teams can't get exotic because they must stop Zeke from running the football. Okay, now Zeke's been removed, so now they can get exotic in their coverages, and Dak still wants to go 1, 2, 3, check it down, or get out of the pocket. They're saying, no, give Dez a chance. He's like, but Dez is covered. There's 2 guys on Dez. I don't care. So now you see his throwing to Dez, his interception rate goes up. His QBR rate goes down. His completion percentage goes down. His yards per attempt goes down. And Dak is looking around like, Bruh, y'all killing me. Y'all got people out here thinking I can't play because I'm trying to force feed him the ball as opposed to just, so what? I give it. Jason Witten can't get me 80 yards, but he can get me a completion. I'd rather have a 4, 5, 6 yard completion as opposed to a 25-yard incompletion or a 15-yard INT.
Okay, but we did see Dak then shortly after that video that we saw of Linehan saying, look at Carson Wentz, we did see him in game number 3 last year after the Denver debacle, the one that was in Arizona on Monday night, and he did throw two, that they weren't jump balls, but they were rollout bombs, on-the-run bombs to Bryce Butler.
Right.
Hi, Bryce. How are you? Unfortunately, you're no longer in Dallas. You're in Arizona.
But that wasn't Dez.
I know. Okay, but he loved Bryce Butler. He had a wavelength. He had a rapport, which is why I still can't understand why they didn't sign Bryce Butler, but I guess they thought he was too expensive for what he was worth.
Skip, that's out of bounds. Skip, that'll be, you know what, that'll be like, let's just say for the sake of argument, I'm no longer your partner on Undisputed. And you was like, you know what, Shannon was good, but I needed somebody that was going to put a little extra time doing their homework. I'm like, come on, Skip, for real.
I've never had that thought in my mind for 1 second.
I'm just saying, you know, listen, just because it's true, you can't, there are a lot of things. You don't think Coach Belichick and all these coaches have had players that they know they can say things that would be they're like, okay, now I see why it didn't work. But sometimes, just because you can't say everything as a coach, that's a part about being a coach, Skip. Sometimes you got to lie. All you had to do was say, you know what? Dez played very well for the Cowboys for a number of years. Dez is no longer here. The guys we have now, we have the utmost confidence in them, and we're going to try to get these guys ready to go play football game. We wish Dez all the best in his career, his future, moving forward. Boom, done with it.
And by the way, quick note, I don't want to lose you because I've never lost to you. So you make me the Patriots. So I'm a dynasty just because of you. And I thank you for that on a daily basis.
I've been beating you down so much I had to leave L.A. They told me if I keep beating you down, they were going to ban me from L.A., so now I had to come all the way to Atlanta to beat you down in Atlanta.
That's delusional. But
everybody,
I'll let you live with that.
Skip, true story. Everybody that passed me, I was sitting on the plane, everybody, man, you be killing. Honestly, you be killing Skip in the airport, man. You get it. I was like, yeah.
One person.
One person.
No, I ain't no one. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, Jenny.
A lot of Shannon fans at the airport.
And maybe those 60 people who follow you on Twitter, or you're to 62 now. I forget.
610K.
Oh, 600. Oh, I thought it was 60.
10K. And they love shit. As a matter of fact, they don't call me shit. They call me Unc. They say, Unc, you be getting it to Skip. I said, yeah, I sure do.
Oh.
That number is
you need that positive reinforcement desperately. You're going to the Hall of Fame once again because you're permanently enshrined in the Hall of Fame, but you need everybody on Twitter to validate you on a daily basis.
I'm about to be in the Hall of Fame of Twitter too. Once I pass you. Once I pass you, Skip Bayless, I'm having a party.
No mercy.
Tom Brady's quotes in a new book are shedding some light on the Deflategate saga, according to ABC News. Brady says that he proposed paying a $1 million fine for Deflategate, but Commissioner Roger Goodell wanted the names of the former equipment managers who allegedly tampered with the footballs. Brady decided not to reveal the names, saying, quote, "There's no way I'm going to ruin these guys for something I believe they didn't do." And instead, he took the suspension. Shannon, what does this tell you about Tom Brady?
Brady knew he was in an unwinnable situation. I don't believe that had Brady even said this, that they would not have believed Brady played a role in this. This is what we know. Our very own Troy Aikman has said he will go to his grave believing that Tom Brady instructed those ball boys to doctor those footballs. We've had numerous quarterbacks say the ball boys do nothing to the footballs without the blessing of the quarterbacks. Tom Brady knew even if he dimed those guys out, nobody's going to believe he's telling the truth. He didn't. Nobody believes he's telling the truth. So what else could he do? Pay $1 million fine, give them $1 million to say what? These guys did it without my knowledge? Nobody was going to believe that. Skip, he was in an unwinnable situation. He did the right thing. In his mind, he doesn't believe that the guys had any part of this. He doesn't believe he did anything wrong. But with that being said, Tom knew he couldn't win. I think the biggest problem that he had was that Mr. Kraft nor Coach Belichick was willing to ride with him.
Yeah, but what you're stepping around is that look at the sacrifice that he made. He took a 4-game suspension to protect those two guys. So whether the public was going to believe it or not was irrelevant at this point, because look at what he did. He said, hey, I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice for 2 equipment guys that he loved, but 2 equipment guys, he's not going to condemn them wrongly or just throw them completely under the bus. That's what he was going to have to do, but he could have saved himself 4 games. He obviously wanted to go with $1 million fine, but he could have been on the field for 4 games, helped his team for 4 games.
But Skip, here's the thing though, public opinion. There's what could he have done? Do you believe had Tom Brady paid that fine that anybody would have believed Tom didn't do it? Him serving that suspension, because Skip, you got people on this side that says there's no way Tom Brady did that. You have people over here that says I don't care what happened. There's no way Tom Brady didn't know or order this. So he was not. I don't believe Tom Brady could have swayed public opinion either way.
I know, but in the end, it's not about swaying public opinion. It's just getting to play 4 games. Wouldn't you just choose to go ahead and play 4 games? Wouldn't those 2 guys be expendable and irrelevant?
Well, I think the thing is for Tom is that Tom valued those guys. He valued their friendships. Because here's the thing, Skip. Let's just say for the sake of argument, he says, okay, yeah, they did it. Now they come out and they says, okay, Tom told me to do it. Now what do you have? Now you really stepped in it. So I believe him doing it this way, he saved himself for the harm's way. Because if you throw them under the bus, because we see this with another situation with Michael Cohen, you're not throwing me a lifeline. Okay, I'm going to start telling what I know. Do you really want that? Do you really want those 2 guys to tell you, this is how long we've been doing it? We've been doing this. Tom told us to do it. This is how we've been doing it. Do you really want that, Skip?
No, because he said that they were completely innocent as charged. The 2 equipment guys are ball men or whatever you want to call them, ball boys. And so he's saying, I'm not going to take them down wrongly because I've been wrongly accused and they're being wrongly accused. And he said from the start, I only asked that the footballs be legally deflated to the lower end of the spectrum that was allowed. Simple as that. And all the, everything that came out after that game that night against, obviously, Indianapolis proved Brady right.
Skip, that wasn't going to what he was going to have to, that wasn't what he was going to have to admit to. He wasn't going to admit to say, okay, I told them to take it to the lower limit. He was going to have to say they did this upon themselves. They went below what the NFL regulations allow. They did this. They went rogue on their own. That's what he was going to have to admit to, not to the lower limits. So now he puts himself in jeopardy because by throwing them under the bus, they come back and says, Tom Brady did this. Tom Brady told me to. This is how long we've been doing this. This is how we do it every game. This is how we get around the situation. Tom Brady was smart enough to know I needed to leave well enough alone because at the worst case scenario, nobody's talking. It's my word against the NFL. The last thing I need is 2 guys on the NFL side against me. You know and I know. If those 2 guys ever talk and say, Tom Brady told me to do this, Skip, it's over. Game, set, match.
Yeah, but he's saying they're both innocent. So how would you're just speculating they would go rogue and turn on Tom Brady.
Skip, you're saying if he pays the $1 million fine, he's going to have to admit they did this without his knowledge.
No, I mean, he offered to pay a fine if that's what the NFL wanted, but he wasn't going to incriminate either of these guys.
But that was not a part of the agreement. He couldn't just pay the $1 million fine.
Well, that's what the NFL said. No, you've got to incriminate both of them. You've got to say that they both deflated the footballs. And he's saying they didn't. And then Tom Brady went to court, and he won the first round at the lower level in Manhattan. He won an NFL home game in court. And then when it went to the appeals court, he just ran out of time. And the season was upon him, and he said, okay, I've fought long enough. I've been a big enough distraction. But to me, this was the ultimate sacrifice by a guy who's become one of the all-time great leaders in the history of sport. We're going to talk in our next segment about Ray Lewis, who's at the top of my list, but Tom Brady, you don't think he won big points in his locker room by saying, I'm not going to incriminate those two guys? Not going to rat on them? There's nothing to rat on because he thought they were innocent.
There's my point, Skip. He stood to gain nothing by paying the fine and saying they did it. He gains nothing. I believe he gained way more by taking the suspension and swallowing this and saying they had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with it. I'm not dragging anybody down with me. I don't believe I did anything. I know they didn't do anything. But if you want to suspend me, you want to be on your pedestal and punish me for what you should have done more harshly for Spygate, so be it. But I'm not telling on anybody. The thing is, Skip, when you tell on someone, you run the risk of you have done something in the past and someone knows about it and now they bring that up. So I believe Tom did the right thing. Take the 4 games. There's going to be a segment that believes he had something to do with it. There's going to be a segment that believes he had nothing to do with it. But in this situation, Skip, paying that $1 million fine and diming those guys out was a far greater risk than taking the 4-game suspension.
But you're concluding he was protecting himself instead of protecting those 2 equipment people.
I believe the quarterbacks, having played this game long enough and know the quarterbacks, every quarterback is saying, think about it.
Not every, but a bunch did. I agree. Troy said it. Mark Brunell said it on ESPN. There were a bunch of them.
Steve Young, Joe Montana. Brad Johnson said he got the ball boys to pay them $5,000 to rub the balls down at the Super Bowl after. Now, so if Brad Johnson is just a guy. What would they do for Tom Brady? What would they do for Peyton Manning? What would they do for Drew Brees if they'll do that for Brad Johnson? Come on, Skip.
Yeah.
I get it. It seems far-fetched, but we know there's a reason why people do everything in sports. Because if it doesn't give you an advantage, you're not doing it. And when games are decided by 3 points, so the slightest advantage that you can gain, guys will do it. We don't know. Tom said he didn't do it. The NFL said he did. I tend to lean towards the NFL because I played the game and I know what ball boys do.
What did he do in the second half against the Colts in the AFC Championship game with quote-unquote legally inflated footballs? He threw a party. What did he do in the Super Bowl against Seattle? He threw another bigger party. Legally inflated footballs. Don't give me that. They were not deflated.
The Colts, the New England Patriots could have played with a bowling ball. They were going to beat the New England Patriots. They were going to beat the Colts. You know that. I know that.
Well,
but Skip, it's not. Here's the thing. Intent. Even if you don't do that, conspiracy is you don't have to, Skip. You don't have to go through. The conspiracy is the act. Did you think about it? What was your intent? So even though you didn't say gain or not, why would you underinflate the footballs even though maybe you didn't use them in the second half of the game? What was your purpose for doing that? That's what conspiracy is, the intent. We're not punishing the act. We're punishing the intent.
I have no idea
because
what that
you
means,
intended.
but I know what this is all about. This is about your Brady hate. You cannot stand it that he is the GOAT. And speaking of the GOAT, it is the GOAT's birthday today on August the 3rd. And we have a present for the birthday boy, Tom Brady.
It's Ernestine's birthday.
We do. Bring it on. We've got a cake, a GOAT cake for the GOAT. You got to see this, Shannon. You got to see this.
I wish I was there.
Look at this.
I wish I was there.
Can we see
I wish I was there at this very
a
moment.
We planned
I
it.
promise you.
You got it? Can
What
you
would
see?
you do if you were
It says,
here?
happy birthday to the GOAT, and it's a picture of Brady holding a goat. A goat. Look at this. Holding a goat. How do you like that, Mr. Sharp?
First of all, he got on gloves. He ain't really an animal lover. He got on gloves.
Yeah.
He ain't true about no animal lover. Get that out about.
Sorry about that.
Good. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tom
I'm sorry
Brady ain't
you're
an animal.
not
He got
here.
on gloves.
Shannon, we're sorry you're not
Whatever.
here to eat 7 pieces of this, which is what you probably would do.
I like it.
Look at that.
Did you pick the
Jenny.
picture, Skip?
Yeah, I
Jenny.
did. I
Jenny.
love that picture.
Yes.
Jenny. Don't let Skip break us up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I like the
I think
cake.
I just succeeded.
It was a good idea.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Tom.
Happy
Way to go.
birthday, Tom. At
Yeah.
least from 2 of us.
Happy birthday, Ernestine.
No mercy.
Thank you for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Keep an eye out for the weekend edition of the podcast tomorrow morning, featuring this week's best segments. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.